Just hold on. Okay. So I have defined, so radiant energy is actually capacity of radiation within a specified uh, within a specified spectral band to do the work. Radiant flux, when we are talking about this radiant energy in terms of time rate of flow from or to the surface, through the surface, that is your radiant flux. And irradiance is actually that radiant flux which is incident upon surface per unit area of that surface. Right now this definition is sufficient. Right now we'll be discussing about the reflectance and albedo, all these things in the next class as well. So also one more important term, radiance. Radiance is actually radiant intensity per unit of projected source area in the specified direction. This also we'll see. So the spectral radiance is actually rate of transfer of energy, that is watt recorded at a sensor per unit per square meter on the ground per per one steradian, that is a three-dimensional angle per unit wavelength being measured. That is because we are talking about the spectral. That is why we are talking about the per unit wavelength. Okay. Now coming to the so this we have seen electromagnetic spectrum, and we have seen the like description of each of that wavelength which is of our interest. Mainly we are interested in the visible spectrum, infrared, and the microwave. Okay. So and then we have started with the interaction with the atmosphere. That is a B portion that we are talking about. Why we have to study this? Because the atmosphere is made up of multiple layers, which is again made up of multiple layers, non-homogeneous, and there are various types of gas molecules are there. Some dust particles are there, trace gases are there, water vapor is there, and all these constituents of natural and anthropogenic constituents of atmosphere makes the changes in the radiation that is being transmitted from point A to from point 1 to point B. Okay, so interaction with the atmosphere takes place in two ways. When the radiation is reaching from the when the radiation is traveling from the source, illumination source, to the target, and the reflected energy which is going back from target to the sensor. So in these two ways there are interaction that happens with the atmosphere, and these effects or these interactions are called as atmospheric effects. Okay, so basically there are three types of when we are talking about the interaction, there are three types of processes are involved. First is scattering, then absorption, and reflection. So scattering is nothing but when there is a changes in direction and intensity of radiation upon hitting the target. The incident radiation is actually diverted into multiple directions. That is we call as scattering, because we don't know uh, because it is impossible to predict the direction in which a specific atom or molecule will emit a photon. Remember, we have discussed about how uh, uh, when a particle is actually dropped from higher energy state to lower energy state, it emits a photon of a particular wavelength. So photon of light is emitted when an electron drops from higher energy state to lower energy state. But in case of scattering, what happens? We are not able to predict the direction in which the specific atom or molecule will emit a photon, and hence there is a scattering process. Then coming to the absorption. Absorption happens when the incident radiation is retained by the constituent part of the atmosphere. Now, what happens in the atmosphere in absorption occurs when the energy which is being incident on the uh, uh, on an atom or molecule in a if you don't want to talk about the molecular level. So if instead of re-radiating a photon uh, of same wavelength, the energy is transformed into heat. And subsequently it will be re-radiated at a longer wavelength. So that is why absorption occurs. So absorption takes place when incident radiation is retained by the constant part of the atmosphere. Uh, Atmosphere means we are talking about the various gases molecules. Atmosphere is made up of that, thereby reducing the intensity of the radiation which is being passing through that atmosphere. Then refraction. which changes the direction of radiation as it passes through the atmosphere. So deviation that takes place in the direction of the radiation, that is actually the refraction. So refraction, you might have studied in the 10th class, where in the optics class we study this refraction. So when light passes through different medium of different densities, it get deviated. That is a refraction. Okay, so in a pictorial form, the same thing is shown. This EMR source, then there is scattering in various direction. There is a transmission. Transmission means the radiation is reaching to the target. That is your transmission. This is a transmission which is shown here. Scattering can take place at various places, not only in the atmosphere but at the target itself. Target itself also it takes place. Also at the cloud top. Okay, so that's why at a bright a bright appearance of clouds, that is actually a result of scattering as well. Then absorption by the gas molecules which are present in the atmosphere, that is also can be termed as an atmospheric effect. And you can see, so this is a transmission that is taking place. Some scattering, absorption is taking place by the target, and some amount of energy reflected back towards the sensor, which is being sensed by the sensor. Similarly, not only sensor is actually capturing the reflected energy from here, but also it can also sense the emission that is done by target itself. Okay, so this also we have seen in the last class. Okay, so we have started our discussion on the scattering and absorption. So scattering and absorption are actually two fundamental processes that we have to consider when we are talking about the interaction with the atmosphere. Because of the scattering and absorption, the quality of the images or quality of the signal may get deteriorated. So because of the scattering, you can see there is a haze. Haze can be added. So we have to so the contrast in the image will be reduced because of the scattering. So this process need to be studied in a more detail. So here we have seen one example in which we have shown the red light is having very like longer wavelength, and it can easily and larger wavelength. So it can pass easily through those most of the particle. So very less amount of scattering occurs, whereas blue color light, which is of of higher energy and lower wavelength, means high frequency, gets scattered more easily because the wavelength is smaller. Hence, because of the scattering of this blue light, the sky appears blue to us. Okay, so scattering is a redirection of the electromagnetic radiation by particles that are suspended in the atmosphere or by large molecules of the atmospheric gases. So this is the standard definition of scattering. So scattering differs from reflection. So there is another term, reflection. So the difference between scattering and reflection is that in case of reflection, we are able to predict, or we know in which direction the radiation will be or light will be reflected. Whereas in case of scattering, the direction associated with the scattering is unpredictable. So that's the main difference between scattering and reflection. So as I said, scattering not only reduces the image contrast, but also changes the spectral signature of the ground object. What is the spectral signature? Spectral signature is actually, we'll be discussing this in more detail in the next slide as well. So spectral signature means each of the Earth object, depending on its property, depending on its surface, depending on the property, its constituents, it absorbs some amount of energies. It reflects some amount of energy. So each Earth surface feature has its own property by which it interacts with the incident radiation. So that is called a spectral signature. Signature means signature is unique to that object. So water body has distinct signature than roads. Similarly, roads have distinct signatures than the snow, or snow has is having very different signature than the crop. Crop also have different types of reflection, different types of reflectance pattern as compared to the forest. Okay, so because of this scattering, the spectral signature of the ground object may get changed. So can anyone tell how it get changed?
Sir, I could not understand your question. So could you please repeat?
Yeah, my question is actually when I'm saying that the scattering is actually changing the spectral signature of ground object as seen by the sensor.
Sir, so different objects in the ground have different color, and different color emit different wavelengths. So depending on the wavelength, the scattering phenomenon changes.
So for example, so in this diagram, if I'm just showing here, so let's see this the solar radiations which are reaching here. If we are just talking about the scattering that is taking place over the target, okay. So these are not reaching here. Okay, you can see if the solar radiation is traveling, so in one direction is traveling. So so let's say this is a building. So here shadow will appear, right? If
Yes.
sun is here and this is a building, okay. So the solar radiations are not directly reaching here. So in our very first class, we say that we are able to see the object because the light is reflected from it. Okay. Now, if solar radiation is not reaching there, then why we are able to see? So shadow is means a little bit shades of blackness. Okay, but still we are able to perceive what is there. Suppose there is a tree or a scooter which is parked behind, let's say, let's say, mm, let's say there is a scooter. I'm not able very good at drawing, but let's say this is a scooter which is parked behind this uh, building, but still we are able to see the scooter. Why is it so?
Because of a scattering of light,
Yeah. Okay. So
the molecules present in the atmosphere scatter the light in many directions.
yeah, in many direction light will be scattered. So for example, light will be incident on, and depending on the target feature, it will be scattered in many direction. Okay. So suppose if you are looking from the top, the signal that you are getting from here, the signal that you are getting from here, let's say your sensor is located somewhere here. Okay. And there is a lot of scattering is happening here. So a lot of scattering is happening in the atmosphere and near the target also. Okay. So what this sensor will sense will be the combination of all this signature, right? So combination of reflectance which is coming from the tree and the scattered light also, which is actually coming from here. So because of this scattering, the spectral signature of ground object will be can be changed. Okay. And also because of the scattering, atmospheric scattering, the quality of image will be can be deteriorated, and a lot of amount of haze means HAZE, that haze, that is a photographic related with the digital image, this term. So haze will be added uh, into the data. Okay. So amount of scattering depends on the size of the particle, their abundance, wavelength of the radiation, depth of the atmosphere through which energy is traveling, and concentration of the particle. So, so starting from here, solar rays are okay. This figure is already here. Okay. So amount of scattering depend on the size of the particle. What is the size of the particle? Okay, which are present in the atmosphere. Let's say this is the atmosphere, Earth atmosphere. Okay. What is the size? What is the size of the particle? How abundantly they are available in this atmosphere? Okay. and and the wavelength of the radiation, and the thickness or the depth of atmosphere through which the energy is traveling. These all are the factors associated with the amount of scattering. Okay. Okay. Now with the scattering, we have three types. One is the rayleigh scattering, Mie scattering, non-selective scattering. I think in last class we have started this one. The Rayleigh scattering, we are talking about a particle which are actually of very smaller size, molecular level particle. So let's say if you are at uh, okay, so let's say this is your ground surface, and this is the height above the ground surface. Okay, so as I said, atmosphere is made up of multiple gases, and their concentrations are also different at multiple layers. Okay, so at the topmost layer, you may expect this, that is stratosphere. You may expect higher concentration of O3. What is O3?
Ozone. Mixture.
Ozone.
Yeah. So at the higher level, you may expect a very high concentration of ozone. So ozone will affect it differently. Just hold on. Okay. So as I said, in the top layer, you may experience you may find top layer means stratosphere. This is stratosphere. This is your troposphere. So a lot of ozones are there. Ozone molecules are there. Similarly, near to the ground, there is a lot of water vapor. Okay. So why water vapor is there at the lower troposphere? Can anyone tell? So let's say this is
Because of
around.
cloud cover.
Yeah, no, not exactly. This cloud cover can be a thing. So this is approximately 3 kilometer. Let's say this is 8 kilometer. Let me just draw something. And let's say this is a very far, greater than 20 kilometer. Okay. So here I'm talking about the 3 kilometers. So below 3 kilometers, you will find comparatively higher concentration of water vapor. Water vapor and
Evapotranspiration and other phenomena.
evapotranspiration. Because of the evapotranspiration, and also when there is a rainfall takes place, some of the particles may be retained in the atmospheric column. So the concentration of water vapor is more here. Similarly, here here you will find a mixture of various gases. Here you will find a lot of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and various trace gases. Trace gases are the gases which are actually. What are the trace gases? Can anyone tell? In climate class,
Very less, very less percent, such as N2O.
Yeah.
Yes. Sir.
So in the climate class, you might have studied these are trace gases.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So yeah. So at the lower tropospheric layer, a lot of water vapor. Upper there is a ozone, and the concentration also varies depending on the layers. So most of this Rayleigh scattering occurs between 2 to 8 kilometer or 2.5 to 8 kilometer this level. So most of the Rayleigh scattering means related with the molecular level scattering occurs in this band. Okay. So Rayleigh scattering, as you can see, occurs when the diameter of the particle, you can see diameter of the particle are effectively very lesser, are very smaller than the wavelength of the incident radiation. So scattering occurs because of the when the wavelength, when a wavelength of incident electromagnetic radiation, it interacts with the size of this particle. So depending on the size and the interaction of this wavelength, we are classifying it into different categories. So when the size of the particle is actually very smaller, when we're talking about the molecular level, the interaction between this molecular level size particle and the wavelength results into the Rayleigh scattering. Okay. So the approximate, so here we are mainly talking about the air molecules, oxygen, CO2, etc. Okay, so Rayleigh scattering predominates where the electromagnetic radiation interacts with the particles that are smaller than the wavelength of incident energy. So smaller than the wavelength of this incident energy, the size of the particles are smaller. So in that case, Rayleigh scattering accomplished. So here actually again you can see the shorter wavelengths are scattered more than longer wavelengths. So this also we have discussed in the last class, and because of that the blue wavelength or the sky appears blue to us, because the blue is actually shorter wavelength as compared to red. So when you have a visible spectrum, when you have when you have visual spectrum, so you can see the wavelength of blue is around 0.4 to 0.5, whereas wavelength of red is 0.6 to 0.7. So since blue is actually shorter wavelength, and so it easily gets scattered. So that is why sky in a normal day, the sky appears blue to us because of more amount of scattering. So scattering is actually essential, because of this scattering and these particles, the color of skies appear to us. So in the absence of these particles and the scattering, we would see a black sky. Okay. Okay, so in the context of remote sensing, the Rayleigh scattering is most important. Why it is important? Because we have seen it affects the quality of the signal. The spectral characteristics of the reflected light will be modified because of the scattering. So that's why this Rayleigh scattering is important in the remote sensing perspective. Okay. Now, if you want to measure the approximate amount of Rayleigh scattering, so this is a relation which gives us the approximate amount of Rayleigh scattering that is happening in a visible optical band 0.4 to 0.7. So that is given by 8 pi cube upon 8 pi cube into n square minus 1 whole square divided by 3 n square upon lambda square. Pi n and n are actually kind of you can say a constant term, where n is actually refractive index, n is number of air molecules per unit volume, and lambda is actually the wavelength. Okay, so we can see there is an inverse relationship. There is an inverse relationship between the Rayleigh scattering and the wavelength. So the amount of scattering is inversely, you can see, amount of scattering is inversely related to the fourth power of radiation wavelength. So that is why you can see the blue light is having more scattering than the red light. So in yesterday's class, we have seen this example. So the blue wavelength is around 0.4 micrometer, whereas red is 0.6 micrometer. So if you divide 0.6 by 0.4 raised to 4, you will get 5.06. That's the number. That's the number that we have got. So scattering from blue divided by scattering by red, so that will get 5 times. So 5 times. So blue light gets 5 times more scattered than red light. That is what this relation is talking about. Okay, so this is again a figure which tells us about the intensity of scattered light. So intensity of scattering, the intensity of scattered light is more for a shorter wavelength, and for longer wavelength, you can see the scattering is actually smaller. Okay, so you can see around 80 to you can say 85% of scattering is happening here, whereas here the scattering for red light is around let's say 10% or even lesser than that. Okay, now so since we have compared red light versus the scattering of red light versus blue light. Okay, so this might be a reason why actually the you might have come across this when you are traveling, these signals are there. Okay, so in signals we use red light, or for danger sign we use red light. Why do we do that?
Red signal have longer wavelengths, sir. So
Yeah.
it can travel more distance.
Yeah, so it can travel more distance. So from larger distance, we can sense the danger. Okay, so that is why red color is used for this one, for danger sign, so that it can travel a larger distance and it can we can sense it from larger distance. Similarly, you might have seen in a traffic in a street, the the road dividers. Normally, they are marked with the combination of yellow and black. Normally, they are marked with the yellow and black. That is a standard convention, or black and white. But mostly, you will see yellow and black. So that is also related with the how that object can be easily perceived from our eye. So if you use any other color, the result may be different. So standard, if you see any road sign board, you'll see that yellow color is most dominantly used. Or even if you can see the school bus, the color of school bus. Okay, so normally, what is the color of that school bus? Mostly they use yellow color. So yellow is actually kind of in between. Yellow comes in between the red and blue. So yellow is kind of neutral color. That's why it is used like that. Okay, so let's go to the next form of scattering. That is a Mie scattering, and it is again now if you compare with respect to the size of the particle. So here the size of the particle is of order similar to what the wavelength of the electromagnetic radiation is. So the approximate size of the particle is around 0.1 to 10 micrometer. So here we are basically talking about the non-molecular. In the first case, we are talking about the molecular level scattering. Here we are talking about the non-molecular level or aerosol or particle level scattering. Okay, so this Mie scattering takes place in a lower atmosphere below 4.5 kilometer of the atmosphere, where many spherical particles present, which is and those particles are having diameter in a same order as that of the wavelength which is being incident upon. So approximately 0.1 to 10 micrometer. That is the size of the particle. Okay, so here basically in Mie scattering, we are basically talking about the dust particles and the water droplets. So particle responsible for this, so particles which are responsible here is actually a mixture of gas particle, which is of smaller size, water vapor, and dust particle. Okay, so it is generally restricted to lower atmosphere where the large particles are abundant and dominant under the overcast cloud condition. So it influenced the entire spectral region from ultraviolet to near infrared band. Whereas in the first case, what we have seen, in the first case,
visible portion.
Yeah, visible portion, but there is a relation with respect to the wavelength. So shorter wavelength will get more scattered than the longer wavelength. Okay, so here it influences the entire spectral region from ultraviolet to near infrared region. Okay, again, one more important thing here I want to emphasize here, the amount of scattering that is happening in the Mie scattering, in the form of Mie scattering is greater than the Rayleigh scattering, and even the longer wavelengths are actually getting scattered here. In the Rayleigh scattering only we are talking about the shorter wavelength are getting scattered, whereas in case of Mie scattering, even the longer wavelengths are getting scattered. That is why the amount of scattering is more in case of Mie scattering as compared to the Rayleigh scattering. Okay, so you can say if there is a pollution, lot of amount of dust particles or pollutants are there in the atmosphere, so the color of sky appears differently. Have you noticed it? In a like dark, if you see atmosphere where there is a lot of pollution level is high, then in that case the color of the sky will be different. The greater the amount of these dust particles, smoke particles present in the atmosphere, uh, more amount of scattering will take place. So you might have seen, so in such condition, the color of sky appears also a kind of reddish or orange color. That is also That is also indicates the presence of pollution. Okay, so in the Rayleigh scattering, we have said the color of sky in the morning and in the sunset and during the sunset and sunrise, the color of sky appears as red and orange. Whereas the pollution also can triggers that process. If the more is the pollution, more amount of red color will be visible during the sunset and sunrises. Okay, so that is the Maya scattering. And then third part of scattering is the non-selective scattering. So non-selective scattering is actually taking place when the size of the particles are even larger. So you can see, so now the particle size is even larger, and it is actually happening in the lowest part of the atmosphere. Why in the lowest part of the atmosphere? Because there is dominance of water vapor in the lower part of the atmosphere. Okay. So approximate size of this water vapor, particles are actually 10 times the size of the wavelength. Okay, so greater than 10 micrometer size is the size of particle. So, and here we are looking at dust, fogs, and clouds. Okay, so this type of scattering occurs when the particle size is much larger than the wavelength of the incident radiation, and particles which are actually responsible for non-selective scattering are water droplets and the larger dust particles. Water droplet means water vapor molecule which are there in the lower atmosphere. They are being concentrated in the lower atmosphere because of the you can say the evaporation that is taking place. Okay, so the bigger size particles will be near the ground surfaces. So this scattering is independent of wavelength, and all wavelengths are scattered equally. So as compared to the Rayleigh scattering, in Rayleigh scattering, the preference is given to the shorter wavelengths. So shorter wavelengths were scattered more in the Rayleigh scattering, whereas in case of non-selective, the word indicates non-selective, means irrespective. So irrespective of the wavelength, it is getting scattered. Okay, so scattering is independent of wavelength. So all wavelengths are scattered almost equally. That is why that non-selective word is coming here. So non-selective scattering of approximately equal proportion of there will be equal proportion of scattering that can take place for red, blue, and green light. So because of this non-selective scattering, the cloud may appear white to you, or the okay, so why white light is appearing? So most common example of non-selective scattering is appearance of cloud as white. Why white color is appearing there?
So because all the wavelengths are equally scattering, and
Okay.
different wavelengths mix up and make white color.
Yeah, white color is actually the inclusion of all the color, whereas black color is exclusion of all the colors. So when the all the wavelengths are scattered equally, not just blue, not just red, not just green, all the wavelengths are scattered equally. We can perceive that as a white color. So most common example of non-selective scattering is appearance of cloud as white color. Okay, so that is your non-selective scattering. So this scattering, these three types of scattering that we have seen, Rayleigh scattering, Maya scattering, and non-selective scattering. The scattering is very important process because of the scattering, because of the amount of scattering, the quality of image will be deteriorated. So quality of image will be deteriorated means the reflectance patterns or surface or spectral reflectance that we receive from one object will not be that accurate, or will be more diluted, you can say. So it will become difficult for us to differentiate between two objects. Okay, so more sharper is the reflectance, easier it is for us to distinguish the two different objects. But if there are more, the scattering is more than the reflectance that we receive from different objects will get diluted. and we will not be able to perceive them as accurately as in the non-scattering case or less scattering case. Okay. So next form of interaction with the atmosphere, interaction of electromagnetic radiation with the atmosphere, next form of that is actually absorption. So we have seen scattering, now we are talking about the absorption. So absorption is the process by which the radiant energy is absorbed and converted into other forms of energy. Okay, so in the last class we have seen like when at the molecular level, uh, uh, when the electron is excited and it is coming down, when it is jumping from higher energy state to lower energy state, it emits a photon of light. Okay, now what is happening in the absorption, that energy is being absorbed and converted into heat. So absorption occurs when the energy that is being incident on the particle is absorbed. So instead of re-radiating the photon of same wavelength, the energy is transformed into heat, and subsequently it get re-radiated at a longer wavelength, and because of that absorption occurs. So absorption of incident energy may take place in atmosphere or at the terrain. At the atmosphere level or at the terrain also the absorption takes place. So absorption is nothing but absorption of energy. So conversion of radiant energy, absorption and converted into another form of energy, that is your absorption. So in absorption, longer wavelengths are released. Longer wavelengths are released means their energy levels have been reduced now. So that is why longer wavelength. Okay, so let's talk about the absorption now. So absorption is important because absorption relatively reduces the amount of light that reaches our eyes, making the scene look little duller. So little bit dull amount of appearance of any object in an image is result of, can say that it is a result of absorption. So less amount of light will be, so let's say light has started from source, and while reaching to the target, okay, its intensity has dropped down. Okay, so it means energy is being absorbed, so less amount of energy is reaching to the target, or reverse also you can see. So when it is reflected from the target, less amount of energy is reflected, is reaching towards the sensor. Okay, so mainly here we are talking about the three gases that are responsible for absorption when you are talking about the Earth's atmosphere. When you are talking about the absorption of solar radiation in the Earth's atmosphere, mainly we are talking about the three gases. One is the ozone, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. So ozone is there at which level? Means most concentrated at which level? Higher level or lower level in the atmosphere?
Higher level.
Higher level.
Whereas water vapor is at the
Lower
Yes.
level.
near surface level. Okay. Now coming to the absorption, so ozone absorbs high energy short wavelength portion of the ultraviolet spectrum, and thereby preventing the transmission of the radiation to the lower atmosphere. So if you look at the spectrum again, yeah. So if you look at the spectrum here, so ultraviolet is here, okay. So as compared to visible, energy content of ultraviolet is high or low?
High, sir.
High. Okay, so energy content of ultraviolet is high, and the wavelength is also shorter. So so because of the presence of ozone in the stratosphere, most of the this one ultraviolet radiation gets absorbed. Okay, so this ultraviolet radiation, if you talk about the spectrum, the band, ultraviolet band, it can again can be classified into ultraviolet A and ultraviolet B. Okay, so it has different effect. Ultraviolet A is mostly related with the aging, whereas ultraviolet B is mostly related with the skin heat, related with the heating and thermal power. Not thermal, it related with the heating and temperature, energy content. So skin diseases, all this related with the UV. Okay, so ozone absorb ozone, that is O3. O3 again it forms. So O3 in the upper. Okay, so in the presence of this UV, this ozone is disintegrated into O2 and O, and O2 and O again reintegrate into O3. So this process is cyclic process, and because of this process, this ultraviolet rays is getting absorbed, and that it prevents the harmful ultraviolet radiation that is reaching towards the Earth's surface. Okay, so ozone absorbs the high energy short wavelength portion of the ultraviolet spectrum, which is of greater than 0.24 micrometer, thereby preventing the transmission of the radiation to the lower atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, then we have the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is important in remote sensing because it is a carbon dioxide again greenhouse gas. What is greenhouse gas?
So the gases that are responsible for depletion of ozone layer.
Not exactly. Greenhouse gases are gases that are actually trapping the energy.
And yes, sir.
Carbon dioxide, if the concentration of CO2 is more in the atmosphere, it gets more warmer. So that is why we use greenhouses. Why we use greenhouse for agriculture? Because we can regulate the temperature. We can have a warmer temperature retained in those greenhouse. So that greenhouse term is coming from the greenhouse gases. Okay, so in the winter also you can grow a vegetable which may not be grow in the open ground because temperature can be controlled in that. So okay, so now coming to the absorption. So carbon dioxide is important in remote sensing as it effectively absorbs the radiation in mid and far infrared region. Okay, so now this infrared region is related to the thermal, like temperature, energy content. So temperatures effectively absorb the radiation in mid and infrared region of the spectrum. So that is a CO2, and water vapor, that is a third gas we have talked about. Absorptions are in the band of 5.5 to 7 micrometer and about 27 micrometer. We'll be looking at these bands here. Now, what this figure is talking about? This figure is talking about the atmospheric absorption. There are different layers you can see. So this is actually telling you the absorption of sun's incident electromagnetic energy in the region between 0, like 0.1 to 30 micrometers. So these are the wavelengths, and on y-axis you have the atmospheric absorption, level of absorption. So although there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 graphs are there. So these are the 5 graphs for which the x-axis is same, y-axis is like we are. So this is the N2O versus wavelength. This is oxygen and ozone versus wavelength. This is CO2 absorption versus wavelength. This is water absorption versus wavelength, and this is the combined effect of this N2O, O2, CO2, H2O. This is a combined effect of all these nitrous oxide, oxygen, ozone, CO2, H2O. This is a combined effect of that. Okay, so the absorption of sun incident energy, sun incident electromagnetic energy, because we are talking about the electromagnetic energy radiation. Here we were talking about in which wavelength there is more absorption, in which wavelength it is less absorption. All these things are shown. So the first 4 graph, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, indicates the absorption characteristics of nitrous oxide. This is absorption characteristics of oxygen and ozone with respect to different wavelength. This is the absorption characteristics of carbon dioxide with respect to a different wavelength. And this is the absorption characteristics of water with respect to different wavelength from 0.1 to 30 micrometer. And this final graph indicates the cumulative result of all this. Okay. Now here you can see Okay, so effect of nitrous oxide. So you can see here the absorption due to nitrous oxide is not there. Okay, you can see the white portion, it's completely white. So there is a okay, so there is a 0% absorption here, whereas here in this case, let me just okay. So here you can see for nitrous oxide. So in this band, approximately near the 5 micrometer, again there is a peak at, let's say, 8 micrometer. There is a more absorption that is taking place, absorption by this nitrous oxide. Whereas in case of oxygen, the initial portion 0.1 to 0.3, the absorption is more. Here 0.4 to 0.5, 0.4 to 0.7, there is a relatively lesser absorption. By the way, what is this region? 0.4 to 0.6, 0.7?
Visible region.
Visible.
Visible. So in visible, there is a less absorption. Before visible, 0.3, you can see the absorption is more. Then again, there is a again there is a peak of absorption around you can say points after 0.7. Then again there is a peak near around 9 micrometer. So this is absorption characteristics of oxygen and ozone. Then this is absorption characteristics of CO2. So we are seeing the CO2 is actually mostly targeting over the infrared region, and to be more specific, mid and far infrared region. So those, the mid and far infrared are actually thermal region. Okay. Yeah, so you can see the, yeah, so this is one wavelength band around 2.8. Then here we are having around 4. Here approximately 15. That is a CO2 absorption. Then this is for water. Water vapor, you can see absorptions are more absorption in the bands of 5.5 to 7 and 27. So you can see around 5.5 here actually there is more absorption, and here also there is a more absorption. Okay, now this absorption takes place at various levels. Ozone, as I said, the ozone absorption is happening in the upper layer, upper atmosphere, and it absorbs mostly the ultraviolet radiation. So ultraviolet means which portion? What is the wavelength of ultraviolet? Let's go to the spectrum again and clarify it. Okay, so ultraviolet we are talking about just before visible, or to be more specific, yeah, so 0.3 to 0.38, that is the ultraviolet region. Okay. So you can see here before 0.3 to 0.38, 0.3 to 0.38, the this is more. The absorption because of this ozone is more. So this figure is actually a combination of oxygen and ozone. But if you want to see about the ozone, the absorption by the ozone takes place in the upper atmosphere, and basically it absorbs the ultraviolet light. Then CO2 in the lower atmosphere, which absorbs mid and far infrared. So this is mid and far infrared portion of the wavelength. So what is a wavelength of mid and far infrared? Okay, between 3 micrometer to 35. So these are actually your infrared. Up to 3 micrometer there is a reflected infrared, and from 3 to 35 there is a micrometer, there is a thermal infrared. Or again, let's see. Yeah. So this is again shown here, near, mid, and far. So this is your reflective part of infrared, and this is your radiative or emissive or thermal infrared. Okay, so carbon dioxide in the lower atmosphere absorbs mid and far infrared. Okay, so you can see greater than 3, you can see 3 to 35, or here only up to 30 shown, but 3 to greater than 3, there is a more absorption that is shown here. Then water vapor in the lower atmosphere, which absorbs far infrared. Water vapor, far infrared more effectively than other. So this is water vapor, and this is a complete, this is actually the combination of cumulative result of all these things. So this lower graph. So this is the effect of water, carbon dioxide, ozone, oxygen, and nitrous oxide on transmission of light through the atmosphere. Okay, so you can see this is covered, this black portion is covered. So in wherever you can see black color, there the atmosphere is closed down. So means electromagnetic radiation of that wavelength we are not able to use, or we are not able to receive it effectively, because more amount of those radiation is absorbed. So when we are talking about the solar radiation is a combination of all the wavelength, not just red, blue, or anything, infrared, UV, etc. All the wavelengths. But because of the constituents of the atmosphere and different types of gases, not all wavelengths are reaching to the Earth's surface. So wherever you can see this black spot, those are the regions where the atmosphere is closed down, and those portion we cannot use for remote sensing purpose. So wherever there is a transmittance, those are known as the atmospheric window. Because window, you can if you see the word window means through this window light can pass, or we can perceive the information through those bands. So between 0.4 to 0.7, you can see there is a more amount of transmission that is taking place. Okay, so that is your atmospheric window. Now if you compare the transmission level and energy level, okay, so this is the transmission level. In the previous here actually we was in up to only 30 micrometer, but this is again extended much above the 30 micrometer. So here microwave was not shown, microwave region was not shown, because microwave is actually even longer wavelength of order of around 1 mm to 1 meter. So in the previous here actually we are just looked at up to 30 micrometer. So 30 micrometer will be somewhere here, or maybe somewhere here. Okay, so this is again the same graph which is showing the transmission level. So you can see the transmission is less here. Most of the transmission can takes place in the visible part. In the visible, then there is a infrared, and in the infrared also, not continuously, there are some absorption bands are there. So these absorption bands are related with again various types of gases. We'll be looking at those. So in the here actually it is basically related with the hydrogen, with the water. Okay, then we have the microwave. So in microwave again you can see what you are seeing in the microwave, whether transmission is more or less.
More, sir.
Yeah, so microwave, the transmission is more. You can see it is even higher than the visible part. It is even higher than the visual part. So microwave are actually least absorbed by the atmosphere. So that is why microwaves are used for precipitation estimation, because they can even penetrate through the clouds. Okay, so cloud cover is also not cannot affect the penetration power of microwaves. So microwaves can easily penetrate. So that's why for remote sensing purpose, specifically meant for precipitation estimation, microwaves are used. Or there are some more application of microwave, because microwaves is actually not just for precipitation, for many other application it is used, because it is least amount of absorption takes place. More amount of transmission, less amount of absorption by the atmosphere. Now between these and this graph, this is talking about the peak energy level. So visible portion of the spectrum. So this is a visible portion of spectrum which is represented by yellow color, which our eyes are able to see, correspond to the atmospheric window and peak energy level. So peak energy level from the sun. So sun emits uh, in the like Wien's displacement law we have seen. What does Wien's displacement law we have discussed in that case? Wien's
lambda max and 2t
yeah.
is equal.
So dominant wavelength of radiant energy. Okay, so dominant wavelength for solar radiation for solar sun, it was around in the visible spectrum. So dominant wavelength of emission, dominant wavelength is in the visible. Similarly, dominant transmission also takes place in the visible. So visible portion, that is why it is more important in the remote sensing. Okay, so can we have 5 minutes breaks and can we join again? We'll discuss this more. Okay, so we'll
Yes, sir.
meet after 5 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So we were talking about the absorption, and we have seen uh, like electromagnetic energy. Uh, yeah. Here we are talking about the effect of various gases and how they are responsible for absorption and transmission. So this is again a continuation of that. We can see this is against the transmission, which is against showing the entire spectrum, not just the visible and infrared, but microwave also shown here. So you can see microwaves are actually easily they can be transmitted. So there is a very less absorption in the microwave region, and also less absorption is there in the visible region, and so there are some isolated patterns over the infrared region where the absorption is lesser. So the areas of the spectrum which are not severely influenced by the atmospheric absorption due to either ozone, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, all these are actually, so these regions are known as the atmospheric windows, and which can be used for remote sensing purpose. So these are the reasons where we can use data. So when you are sending a uh, satellite, you have to be well aware of this region. Okay, well aware of this region, that these are the reasons which can be uh, where the absorption due to atmospheric gases will be smaller. Okay, so these are called as atmospheric windows, where the influence of atmospheric absorption is smaller, and which are not influenced, or we can say which are not influenced by the atmospheric absorption. So those are actually atmospheric windows. Okay. So here again, you can see the same diagram, but here the name of the absorbent is also given, which is actually responsible for absorption. So in this portion, we can see mainly, so this is the graph of transmission versus wavelength. Okay. So this is 100% transmittance, 100% transmission. This is 0% transmission, and these are the wavelengths. So you can see between zero here up to this point, mainly absorption is there. The transmission is actually very less. Here, the transmission is increasing. And you can see in the visible spectrum that is between 0.4 to 0.7, you can see the transmission is more, absorption is less here. More amount of transmission. Similarly, you can see some there in the infrared portion. So from this portion, there is infrared portion. Here, this is a near infrared. After in the near infrared also, you can see there are some drops are there. So these are actually the regions which are actually absorption bands, and these absorption bands are corresponding to the hydrogen. So because of not hydrogen, the water vapor, water molecule, because of the water, there is a strong absorption bands are there. So these are the absorption bands, whereas these are the atmospheric windows, where actually there's a transmission, there is very good amount of transmission that is taking place. Similarly, here actually again you can see there is a absorption that is because of the water and the CO2. Here you can see ozone, CO2, H2O. Okay, here in the microwave region. So microwave again for uh, a study purpose, actually in a radar analysis, actually we used there are different bands in the entire microwave. Actually we can divide into multiple band: K band, X band, C band, L band, and P band. These are actually are part of these bands. Okay. Here, when we are talking about active, okay, we'll be talking about the passive and active remote sensing in the next class maybe. So this figure is actually talking about how much amount of transmission is taking place in different types, different wavelengths, and where the transmission is more, those are actually less affected by the atmospheric absorption. Those are actually your atmospheric windows. So this is approximate. This is a human vision, range of human vision. This is a range of photographic camera. This is a range of thermal scanners, and this is the electro-optical sensors. Okay, so this is again with respect to the solar radiation. This is again actually the continuation of this diagram. So here basically we are looking from 0 to 3 micrometer now. So 0 to 3 micrometer, 0 to 3 micrometer wavelength versus solar radiation. Okay, so this graph, this curve is actually the top curve is actually talking about the solar radiation at the top of the atmosphere. Okay, before reaching the Earth atmosphere, this is a solar radiation. This much amount of solar radiation is there. Now this is the solar radiation. That is the second curve, which is actually inside this curve, that represent the solar radiation at the sea level. Means once the solar radiation pass through atmosphere. So you can see between this point to this point, this much amount of absorption is taking place. Okay, so this is solar radiation at the top of the atmosphere. This is solar radiation received at this wavelength, at for let's say at 0.5 micrometer wavelength. Solar radiation at the top of the atmosphere is around, let's say 2500 or 2400 watt per meter square per micrometer in that for that wavelength. Whereas once that solar radiation pass through atmosphere, there is absorption. The solar radiation value comes down to 1500. Okay, this much amount of solar absorption is taking place here, and so on for different types of wavelengths. Okay, and the reason for absorption is also mentioned here. So basically for oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen, ozone, water, or oxygen, water, carbon dioxide, etc. So when we are talking about absorption and scattering, there are certain wavelengths which are actually more affected by absorption than scattering. So for example, the infrared which is more absorbed by the affected by the absorption. You can see there are some patches are there. So this is one patch, this is one patch, this is one patch, this is one patch, this is one patch. So here the infrared radiation is actually strongly absorbed. Okay, so coming back to the electromagnetic spectrum. So this is what we have studied so far. So we have studied that we are actually this is a complete electromagnetic spectrum from higher frequency to the lower frequency, or you can see lower wavelength to the longer wavelength. So these are the regions which are represented like this here, are actually which are not allowing the radiation to pass through the atmosphere. So in this bands, atmosphere is mostly opaque. Okay, so visible portion, you can see visible portion, the radiation is passing easily, whereas in the microwave, some part of microwave here actually they are easily, there is no absorption that is taking place here. Whereas in case of infrared, there are ups and downs are there. So there are some absorption bands are there and some transmission bands are there. We can say that in different terms, in terms of atmospheric opacity. So atmosphere is more opaque up to this band, up to this wavelength. In the visible, atmosphere is less opaque. Okay. Similarly, in the microwave again, it is the absorption is less. It is more. It can easily transmit. Okay. So here you can see most of the infrared spectrum absorbed by the atmospheric gases. That's why it is more opaque here. Here also it is more opaque. In the infrared, there are some bands where there is a strong opacity. Opacity is shown by here, and where there are less amount of absorptions are there and more amount of absorption. So this indicates regions where there is a atmosphere is less transparent. Okay, so smaller the value, more transparent the atmosphere, higher is the value, less transparent is the atmosphere. Okay, so when we're talking about the atmospheric windows, so in the visible and the near infrared, these are the atmospheric windows which can be used for remote sensing purposes. The visible and near infrared between 0.4 to 1.3 micrometer, between 0.4 to so 0.2 0.4 to 1.3 micrometer, that is visible and near infrared. Then mid infrared region 1.5 to 1.8, and then there is some drop, and then 2.2 to 2.26 micro, because infrared is not continuous. In the infrared, we can see there are lots of ups and downs are there. So between 1.5 to 1.8 can be used, then 2 to 2.26 can be used. Similarly, thermal will be here. So in thermal also, from 2.26 to 3, there is a it cannot be used. Then 3 to 3.6 can be used. 4.2 to 5.5 can be 4.2 to 5 micrometer can be used. Then after that 7 to 15 micrometer can be used. So these are actually your atmospheric windows. So where it can be where the radiation is not absorbed. Then microwave region 2 to 2.06 to greater than 22 centimeter. That is your microwave regions, which is again can be termed as atmospheric window. Okay. So what is atmospheric window? Can anyone summarize?
So the range of spectrum in which the absorption of radiation is less.
Transparent over those bands. Those are atmospheric windows, and these atmospheric windows can be used for remote sensing purposes. Okay, so although when you are talking about the electromagnetic spectrum, this is the entire electromagnetic spectrum, but we cannot use this entirely. We can only use some portion of this entire spectrum, because in those bands only, lights are transmitted easily. The radiation is transmitted easily without deterioration. Okay, now coming to the next effect, that is refraction. Refraction, as I said, is actually the deviation of the path of the light. So the phenomena of refraction, that is bending of light at the contact between two media, that also occurs in the atmosphere as the light passes through atmospheric layers of varied clarity, humidity, and temperature. So depending on the different constituents of the atmosphere, their density, the presence of humidity, water vapor, and temperature, the nature of that layer behaves differently than the uppermost layer, upper or subsequent layers. So because of that, refraction takes place. So this is one homogeneous medium, this is another medium. Let's say there are different layers of the atmosphere. So incident energy, which is incident here at this inclination angle θ1, refractive index of this layer is around n1. Now, because this refractive index is different for this next layer, the light is being, instead of going like this, it is getting deviated here like that. So this is the angle of deviation here. And again, since now this layer is similar to this one, again it is again deviated like this. So this is a path of energy affected by the atmospheric reflection. So this deviation from the original path of the light is known as the refraction. So this variation influence the density of these variations are influenced by the density of the layers, which in turn causes the bending of light rays as they passes from one layer to another layer. Okay, so yeah, so this n1 or n2 or n3, that is n, that is the index of refraction. So this is a ratio again. This is a ratio between speed of light in vacuum divided by speed of light in that particular substance or medium. Okay, that is your index of refraction. So this index of refraction is always greater than 1, because speed of light is always greater in the vacuum as compared to any other medium which are in our reality. Okay, so that's why value of n is always greater than 1. Okay, now there's another term, that is reflectance. Okay, so reflectance, we are when we are talking about reflectance, we are talking about the, can anyone tell what is the reflectance in simple word?
Yes, sir. How much incident energy is being reflected by the object? Means it is the property of the object
How
that
the incident energy is reflected back.
yes, sir.
That is the reflectance. That is a simple term. But here, in case of remote sensing, this term is more important, reflectance, when we are talking about the different object, because we are able to distinguish different object because of the reflectance properties of that object. Water reflect differently than roads. Okay. So reflectance is the process whereby radiation bounce off an object like the top of the cloud or water body or bare soil. And this bounces off this light, which is bounces off an object, is redirected. That is your reflectance. There are two types of reflectance which are important to us in remote sensing. Like there are two extreme types. There is a specular reflection and diffuse reflection. Okay. So specular reflection is actually, you can see in the left side of image, you can see incident energy hitting the target, and it is actually reflected back in one direction. That is the specular reflection. Then diffuse reflection. The diffuse reflection means depending on the nature of the surface, nature of the roughness of the material, the energy will be reflected in multiple directions. That is your diffuse reflection. We'll be looking at this one by one. Okay. So as I said, in remote sensing, we are mostly interested in measuring the radiation that is being reflected from the target. And we refer these two types of reflection, that is a specular and diffuse reflection. By the way, the energy is being reflected. So most of the Earth surface feature lies somewhere between the neither they are perfectly specular or nor perfectly diffuse reflector, depending on the nature of the surface, that is the surface roughness of the feature in comparison to the wavelength of the incoming radiation. Now let's see what is meant by specular radiation. So when a surface, so let's say this is a surface and this is a radiation which is being incident on it. So when a surface is smooth, we get specular or mirror-like reflection, where almost all the energy is directed away from the surface in single direction. So you might have noticed when there is a glass or when the surface is very smooth, you can see a reflection of it. When you can see when there is a water body and it is clear and calm, so you can see your reflection in it. Okay, so that is actually example of specular reflection, when there is a reflection that takes place in one direction. So energy is directed away in a single, more or less in single direction. That is your specular reflection. The more perfect specular reflection means like a glass or mirror, where you can see the reflection can be seen easily. Okay, more mirror-like reflection, where the energy is directed away from the surface in a single direction. So in the first example, you can see in the lower left, there is an example of specular reflection. Now, what is diffuse reflection? Diffuse reflection occurs when the surface is kind of rough. Okay, there is a lot of abnormalities or ups and downs are there in the surface, and when the incident light is actually hitting that target, the energy is reflected in many directions, not just in single direction, nor not dominantly in one direction, but like almost uniformly in all directions. So there you will not see any reflection. Okay, so you might have seen an object where when the light is incident on it, okay, the light is actually scattered or it is diffused in multiple directions. That is the diffuse reflection. So the features like glass and water body, they are a kind of near surface or near perfect specular reflection, or more or less smooth surface. Smooth surface are actually are tend to have more specular reflection. Okay. So, but when I said the most of the Earth surface feature, they exactly lie between the perfect specular reflection to in between the perfect specular and perfect diffuser. In between that, most of the surface feature lie. Okay, so in this diagram again, Now, various types of reflectance is shown. The nature of specular and diffuse reflectance are shown here. The A is actually a perfect specular reflection. So let's say this is a surface A. Let's say the surface of smooth water. So which is actually calm and clear. So you can see a perfect specular reflection is taking place here. So angle of incidence and angle of emittance. So light is being reflected in a more predominantly in one direction. Sharp reflection is can be observed. So that is why you can see your image in the water or in mirror. So this is example of perfect specular reflector. Then next is near perfect specular reflector, means in which there is some kind of abnormalities there, but more or less surface is smooth. So in that case, more dominant reflection will take place in one direction, and there will be little bit diffusion will take place. So this is example of near perfect specular reflector. Then this is a near perfect specular reflector, a diffuse reflector. See, there is image C. Okay. So in this case, you can see now because there is a lot of abnormality, lot of surface roughness are there. So the incident light will be diffused in, or the incident light will be reflected in multiple directions. So that is why you are not able to see a clear sharp image here, because light is being diffused in multiple directions. Okay. So this is an example of near perfect diffuse reflector. And here this is a perfect diffuse reflector or a standard ideal Labouchian surface. Labouchian surface or Labouchian diffuser is actually a surface in which the radiant flux leaving the surface is constant for any angle of uh, um, any angle of reflectance. Means in all direction it is being reflected equally. So this is a perfect diffuse reflector or Lambert surface. Okay, so these four types, these are the this is a more perfectly specular reflector. This is a more perfect diffuse reflector. In reality, our objects are between B and C. Okay, now if the wavelengths are much smaller than the surface variation of the particle size, more diffuse reflection will dominate. If the wavelengths are smaller than the abnormality of the surface or the surface roughness, then diffuse reflection will dominate. For example, the white paper or the white powder. Okay, so it will reflect visible light in multiple directions. That is why over the white surface you will not be able to see the perfect reflection, because light is being reflected in multiple directions. So in those case, in a white light or white paper or white powder, the visible light will be reflected in more diffuse manner. Okay, so so far we have seen the attenuation of electromagnetic radiation because of the various process, because of the absorption, because of the scattering. Okay, so this scattering or this attenuation, this absorption not only takes place over the atmosphere, but at the target level also it takes place. So you can see here at the, because of this abnormality, this roughness of this target, there is a scattering taking place. So interaction with the leaf, not only interaction takes place at the leaf level, but inside the leaf also, at the cell level also, those interaction takes place. And because of that also, uh, uh, the energy that is being reflected from this target is actually a combination of all this. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is actually, so the light that we are able to perceive from this object, the reflected light from this object, not only happens over the surface layer of the top layer, but also internally also, because light can penetrate through that leaf of the uh, plant. So at the cell level also these interactions are taking place. Interaction means interaction of the light and interaction within those cells. And what we see as an object, that is actually combination of all these interaction. Okay. So this is one example of vegetation interaction. Interaction is taking place, means scattering or diffusion is taking place not only at the surface level, but also internally inside the leaf structure. We'll be looking at this in more detail when we're looking at the reflectance properties of the vegetation. Okay, now let's continue our discussion on the reflectance. When we are talking about the spectral reflectance, we are talking about the reflectance in one particular wavelength, means related to the wavelength. So spectral reflectance is the ratio of reflected energy to incident energy as a function of wavelength. Okay, so how much amount of energy is radiated, how much amount of energy is reflected as compared to incident energy for that wavelength. That is a spectral reflectance. So standard definition is spectral reflectance is the ratio of reflected energy to the incident energy as a function of wavelength. And the spectral reflectance is responsible for color that we are perceiving for any object, any ground object. So it is responsible for color or tone in photographic image of an object. So for example, you can see why leaves are appearing, why a plant leaf appear green to us, because you can see in this diagram. Okay, so when we are talking about the visible light, we are talking about the most of the light, but let's say right now we are talking about when we are talking about the light, we are talking about the entire spectrum. But let's for the sake of example here, let's say we are talking about the near infrared, near infrared, and this visible part. Okay, so out of this incident light, you can see the red is actually absorbed, blue is also actually absorbed, and this red and blue are absorbed, and green is actually reflected back. Okay, now you may see the leaves are appearing green to us because we are just seeing in the red, green, blue. We are just looking at the visible spectrum. But if you are able to perceive information in near infrared, then you will see not only in green but in near infrared as well, the reflectance is more. So plant reflects more in near infrared band. So lots of near infrared band, near infrared energy is actually reflected back. But since we are not able to see that near infrared to our naked eye, what we see only as a green. But if you are having sensor or sensor, then you can make use of this infrared, near infrared energy also to distinguish or to monitor the leaf property. Okay, so the tree appears green because they reflect more amount of green wavelength. So more amount of green are being reflected, and since we are only able to see the information in the visible band, that is why out of this red, green, blue, green is more reflected back. That is why the color of leaf appears green to us. The spectral reflectance is dependent on wavelength, and it has different values for different wavelengths for a given feature. So in a more specific way, we can say that because of this nature because of this reflectance property of different object for different wavelengths. So object reflect wavelength, object reflect differently in different wavelength. Okay, because of this nature of that object, we are able to make use of this property in remote sensing purpose. So spectral reflectance is dependent on wavelength, and it has different values at different wavelengths for a given feature. Okay, so the spectral reflectance not only we can measure from the satellite for multispectral remote sensing, but by at the ground also by holding spectroradiometer. So spectroradiometer is an instrument that can be used to measure the how much amount of energy is being reflected in different waveband. Now here I have used multispectral remote sensing, this term. What is the meaning of multispectral? So I have used this term multispectral remote sensing. What is the meaning of multispectral? Multispectral.
I think, sir, spectral here, multi means more than two wavelength.
Yes. So multispectral means multi-wavelength.
Yes.
So multispectral remote sensing. So spectral reflectance of the Earth can be measured from larger distance, not only near the ground, but also from the sky, from the Earth's atmosphere also can be studied using the multispectral remote sensing. Okay, now let's talk about the budget, interaction of energy with the Earth's surface. So let's see, in this diagram, we have an incident energy which is represented by E subscript I for that particular wavelength lambda. Okay, so for that particular incident energy for wavelength lambda is represented by EI, which is shown here. And out of this incident energy, some amount of energy in that wavelength will be reflected. Some energy will be absorbed for that wavelength, and for that wavelength, some energy will be transmitted. Okay, transmitted means transmitted through that object. So here, let's say it is water body. Okay, so out of this total incident energy, some will be absorbed, some will be transmitted to the ground, some will be reflected. Okay, so we can write this equation in this way. So incident energy for a given wavelength lambda, incident energy can be written as a combination of reflected energy, absorbed energy, and transmitted energy. So this is very simple equation. Okay, now spectral reflectance, if you are talking about the more general definition of spectral reflectance, so spectral reflectance is actually a ratio of energy of wavelength reflected from the object divided by energy of wavelength incident on the object. Out of incident energy, how much is reflected back? That is the reflectance, spectral reflectance for that particular wavelength. Here we are using lambda because we are talking about that particular wavelength. So out of like let's say red light is incident, red wavelength incident. Out of that red incident wavelength, how much red energy is reflected back? That is your reflectance of red. Okay, reflectance of green, reflectance of blue. Okay, so rho lambda means reflectance, spectral reflectance for that particular wavelength is a ratio of energy of wavelength reflected divided by energy of that wavelength incident. Okay, so this is simple definition, and the plot between this spectral reflectance for a particular wavelength versus that wavelength is called as spectral reflectance curve. Okay, so we'll be talking about the spectral reflectance curve in more detail in next few slides. But before that, it's now, as you have noticed, now we have started our discussion on the not only interaction with the atmosphere, but now we are talking about the interaction with the target. Okay, now we are talking about the interaction with the target. So previously we have talked about the energy source. Then we have talked about the interaction with the atmosphere. Now we are talking about the interaction with the target. So basically this C we are talking about now. So there are three forms of interaction that can take place when energy strikes or incident upon the surface. What are they? Absorption, transmission, and reflection. So this we have seen in this diagram as well. So incident energy, it can be absorbed, it can be transmitted, or it can be reflected. Okay, so absorption means radiation that is being absorbed by the target. Transmission means radiation that is being that is being passed through that target. And reflection means radiation that is being bounced off from the target and it is redirected. That is your reflection. Okay, so in this diagram, one example is shown here. So let's say this is a plant leaf. I is actually your incident energy. Out of some energy is out of this incident energy, some proportion will be absorbed by this plant leaf. Some will be transmitted and some will be reflected back. Reflected means radiation will be bounced off from the target and it will be redirected in different direction. That is your reflection. Okay. Now the proportion of this interaction depends on the wavelength of the energy and the material which we are and the condition of the feature that is of our interest. We'll be talking about this in more detail. Okay. So now out of all interactions, surface reflection, as I said, is more important in case of remote sensing because it will tell us about how much amount of energy is reflected back reflected back in that particular wavelength. Remember, that particular wavelength is more important. When we are talking about the near infrared band, we have seen the plants reflect more in near infrared band. Okay. So reflection intensity depends on the surface reflective index, absorption coefficient, and angle of incidence of the reflection. We'll be talking about this in the radiometric part. But right now, let's start the interaction with the target. Okay. Now, what is transmission? So transmission is actually, it's a ratio again, transmitted radiation divided by incident radiation. So out of total incident, how much is transmitted back? Okay, so transmittance is a property of a material for a given thickness or depth of the substance. Ability of a medium to transmit energy is called as transmittance, which is again ratio between the transmitted radiation divided by incident radiation. Okay, so we call it as a more successful transmittance when there is a less amount of attenuation is taking place to the signal. It means the substance is able to pass, able to allow that radiation more effectively without getting absorbed. So more amount of signal can pass through it without getting absorbed. Okay, that is a good amount of transmission. Now coming to the spectral signature. So what is a spectral signature? So spectral signature, as I said, different earth material reflect different. They reflect light differently for different wavelength. Okay, so let's say vegetation can reflect more in near infrared, but water can reflect less in near infrared. Okay, so this specific property of different earth surface feature can be utilized for the purpose of remote sensing. So the ability to measure the electromagnetic energy at varying wavelength as it interacts with the material form, some of the the ability of the electromagnetic energy at various wavelength as it interacts with the material, it is the basis of remote sensing, because their interaction is different for different wavelengths. So interaction of water at near infrared for a near infrared wavelength is different than interaction of water body for near infrared band. So the physical characteristics of the material causes the electromagnetic energy to be reflected, refracted, or absorbed in a way that is unique to each material. So each material is unique depending on the by which it is made up of, by which it is made up of, the constituent of the particle, constituent of the target. Because of that, its reflected property, refraction and absorption vary. Okay, so when these interactions are measured across discrete section of spectrum, so when this reflection or these interactions are measured for different bands or different section of the spectrum, and when we plot it in terms of reflectance, we get the spectral reflectance curve. That is actually a material spectral reflectance curve. So this is one such spectral reflectance curve for different earth objects. So you can see this is red color is for soil, green color is for vegetation. This black color is actually for rocks, which is having different types of mineral content. This violet color is for clear water. This sky blue color curve represent the reflectance curve for water with phytoplankton. Phytoplankton means there is a some kind of like aquatic plants are there. So you can see the behavior, the reflectance is different for different objects. So you can see here the reflectance of for this wavelength 0.7, you can see the reflectance. So 0.7 is which wavelength? What color?
Red.
Red. So reflectance of red, reflectance of vegetation in red is actually smaller than reflectance of vegetation in near infrared band. Similarly, you can see reflectance in the red band here and reflectance in here. There is quite a bit difference. Okay, here the reflectance for the vegetation is smaller, whereas the reflectance for this altered rock is more. Okay, so each Earth surface feature reflect differently for different wavelength. Okay, so this is a generalized reflectance spectra of very common Earth surface material. Okay, so okay, so again you can see the water has highest reflectance in 0.5. 0.5 is what?
Green region, sir.
Green region. Okay, and here, and whereas the vegetation is having no, not just green actually. 0.5. Let's see.
0.5 to 0.6, sir. It's green region.
0.5, but lesser than green actually. It is.
It's below something.
Let me see that diagram again. Yeah. So between blue and green, there's the portion. Now, depending on the shallowness of the water, its colors will appear differently. If there is a deep water body, most of the radiation will get absorbed. So that is why in some of the when you are looking at some of the satellite image, you will see, or let's see, when you are looking at for a specific wave band, near infrared band, and if you see water body in that, it appears as a black color. Okay. Similarly, vegetation is having higher reflectance in green. Okay, you can see lower reflectance in more lower reflectance in blue, higher reflectance in the visible part if you want to compare. So more reflectance for vegetation is green. That is why it appears green color to us. For water, it is between blue and green. So that's why slightly bluish color of the water is actually visible. Now this is for clear water. Clear water has higher reflectance than water with phytoplanktons or water with the some turbidity. Let's say here. Let's say this diagram. Yeah, this diagram. So this is turbid water. So turbid water is having higher reflectivity because it is having a lot of sediment particles are there. So because of the presence of those, light will be even more scattered. So the reflectance will be increased as compared to the clear water. Okay. Soil, for example, for soil. So dry soil is having more reflectance than wet soil. Why? Because of the presence of water. Okay. So snow, similarly, snow is having higher reflectance, snow and ice, and clouds are also having higher reflectance. That is being shown here. Okay. So out of all this, here if we talk about between 0.3 to 2.5 wavelength, vegetation is having highest reflectance in near infrared band. So when you are using sensors, so because of the higher reflectance of vegetation in near infrared band, we are considering this in the vegetation index. So if you see NDVI, that is a normalized difference vegetation index, which is used for monitoring the health condition of the vegetation. So this NDVI is actually a ratio of NIR minus red upon NIR plus red. Okay. So because there is an increased reflectance in near infrared band as compared to red band, this property is being used in NDVI in order to study the health condition of the plant. Okay. So we'll continue our discussion in our next class as well. Now since there is a now we can stop here for a time right now. Okay. So any doubts so far?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, why the transmission is maximum case of visible